The deck has to be stacked adequately. You know, that's the way you make a Jake Paul fight. So somebody like Beterbiev is never going to get that fight because the deck cannot be stacked adequately. Maybe one of us three can get in there. You know, we can stack the deck against me.
Yeah, but guys.
I'll carry Jake. I would carry him.
Welcome into Boxing Scene's top stories on ProBox TV. Download the ProBox TV app. Never fall behind in your boxing news. And how does it get any bigger than Mike Tyson, Jake Paul? Netflix reporting 60 million people watching. It was the biggest thing on social media, whether you are a boxing fan or not. To help me break everything down, Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri, and ESPN boxing analyst Timothy Bradley. Paulie, the big debate amongst boxing dorks, which is what we have here, are these numbers good for boxing, or are they good for Jake Paul and the freak show side of the sport? Does it make boxing itself bigger, Paulie?
You know, like anything else, the truth is in the gray. It's not really black or white, you know? So the truth is really in the gray. So my conclusions from this, and obviously I'll let my cohorts also give some opinions. I won't give all my opinions yet, but my general opinion was that this was a successful card in that had a great undercard. I mean, that was a really good card. And then you got to the main event and it sucked. But Barrios versus Ramos, Serrano versus Taylor, two epic fights. You know, that you would want to watch. That could easily be main event and co-main event and done. You know, and gotten high praise on any card. You know, it was on this card, and it took Jake Paul being in the main event for that many people to see this kind of fight. So you know, in that regard, Jake being in the main event is a positive. The negative is Jake is regressing, dude. Jake won the fight, was scared, was basically poo-pooing his pants the whole time he was in the ring. I couldn't believe how scared this guy was, a 58-year-old. He's lucky the 58-year-old can't move. That's the only reason he didn't have more problems. It was very, 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 very disappointing. Honestly, I thought Jake, and I've been a guy who's defended Jake a lot, is boxing. I think he does a lot for boxing, and I like Jake the promoter. I like him, and I think Jake the promoter is successful again on Saturday night with being that the undercard was so good. But Jake the fighter, honestly, Jake the fighter sucks, and he's getting worse. Like I was very, very surprised at the way he handled that fight. He is not carrying anybody like he's trying to convince you. Because when you carry somebody, you're able to stand right in front of them at the threat of the distance and sort of play with them and let it sort of look realistic. Jake was so scared, he was throwing jabs while he's trying to run away at the same time. And he's jumping out 40 feet. When you're trying to carry somebody, you'll jab somebody, and you'll stay right at that thread. You'll give them different looks. You'll circle them. You won't be as aggressive, but you'll circle them. You'll make it look good. He wasn't carrying anything. Jake is not good enough to carry anybody. All right? Jake was actually scared. He was jumping back 45 feet, circling the ring, and throwing a couple of punches while he's half jumping out again. And that's the only reason Mike couldn't counter him, is because Jake is trying to get out while he's throwing punches. But it's also the reason he could never hurt Mike, because he was also touching while he's moving back. So he couldn't get the same force he gets on the shots against his other opponents. I'll let my other guys take it from here. Because I could just keep going and going. It was very disappointing in the way he fought. I thought Jake was better than this.
Well, when you look at it, it wasn't a little correction. It wasn't 60 million people. It was 60 million homes. Yeah. Netflix said tuned in. So that could be hundreds of millions of people. Yeah. When you look at it, Chris,
the ones that actually had the stream working, which is not that many.
It quit on me in round 3. Chris, when you look at this fight, when you look at Mike Tyson, is it simply Father Time is undefeated? Is that what you walked away with?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a couple things I walked away with. One, Mike Tyson is still a global phenomenon. He is the most famous, most recognizable man on the planet, literally. And I don't compare him to anything. It doesn't matter. The most well-known person in the world is a boxer, and it's still Mike Tyson. Even at 58 years old, he still moves the needle, which is why we had 60 million homes tune in for this fight. Mike carried this promotion. That's why people tuned in. They wanted to see Mike one last time. Sure, he was fighting Jake Paul. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it was Jake Paul. What matters in terms of Jake Paul being related to this is that he actually put together a good undercard, like the champ said. Those fighters on that undercard was fantastic. Amanda Serrano was signed to MVP Promotions. She fought Katie Taylor on the card. It was a rematch of one of the maybe the best female fight that's ever been put stage. And some people argue they did better this time. It was an even more entertaining fight. It was a fantastic fight. Barrios, one of the welterweight world champions who hasn't been active because there's just not a big draw for him, gets on the card, puts on an epic battle against Abel Ramos, which fight was awesome. Turns out to be a draw. Now we have some more interesting things to figure out for the welterweight division. So all in all, you've got a great card put together because of Jake Paul and the MVP Promotions. But in terms of what moved the needle, Guys, it's still Mike Tyson. It's not a Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight. This was a Mike Tyson fight. It was the last time we're ever going to see Mike Tyson in a ring, potentially, and that's why people tuned in. That's why people flew there. That's why people were in their homes. That's why I heard there are numbers that Grubhub and all delivery food services went through the roof that night because everybody was home ordering in food because they didn't want to miss the fight. That's a Mike Tyson era movement right there. That's Mike Tyson, baby.
But is it really a fight? But was it really a fight? Yeah. I mean, dude, 8 2-minute rounds. That wasn't no fight.
14-ounce gloves.
Come on, bro. I mean, come on. And dude, I just checked on BoxRec, and it's literally on Jake's resume, bro.
That's crazy.
But Tim, it's a sanctioned fight. But
crazy.
You had to modify the rules.
How do you sanction a fight with modified rules?
Tim, I just want everybody at home to realize Tim is not saying it's fixed. For all you morons out there who keep telling me it's fixed, and Mike could have knocked him out at any point, or some of you could say Jake could have knocked him out at any point, but he carried him. Nothing was fixed. Jake was shitting his pants while he's running all over the ring, barely touching Mike, and Mike couldn't move because he's got no legs. Yeah. All right. So the fight wasn't good, but it was what it was. It evolved naturally. It was nothing fixed about it. Nobody can carry anybody here.
Yeah, and Mike was way too old, and we all knew that going into the fight. Way too old. And the fight got sanctioned anyway, all right? Both guys got paid.
But Tim, look at the way he wound up. Tim is Mike getting $20 million for a guy who was never a threat to him. The guy was scared of him.
I understand that. But just hear me out here. Hear me out. All right, we all know Jake is a bum. He don't know how to fight. He is regressing, like Paulie is saying. That's factual. He's regressing, all right? But I got to do this, man, because like I thought about this. I was saying, fuck, this is actually, excuse my French, I'm sorry. But I just said, this guy is actually freaking smart as hell. You talking about business-wise? Look, I've been talking to promoters, right? You see me got to talk, but I've been saying, yo, the business model need to change. Change the business model, you can get more viewership. Jake has done that. If you really think about it.
We really got to dumb it down. Go ahead.
Hold on, real quick. Jake, he brought Mike Tyson back, just as you said, to your point, Algieri. He brought him back. Guess how many generations you think has watched this fight, right? Not generations, but decades. This is going back to the I want to say 1970s, right? 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, the 2000. Like, you think about that. If you didn't watch Mike Tyson growing up, you know what I'm saying? You had a chance to watch him now. You heard the stories. You know, Mike Tyson still has that mystique, has that punching power. Everybody was holding on to that. There's a lot of people that can't stand Jake, including myself. They were looking for him to get knocked out. He put the female fight on the card, the women's fight on the card, which was the best female fight, I believe, last year, of all time, man, of all time. Yeah. You got to think about it. There's more women in the world than there are men. So women are going to be tuning in, especially to watch this matchup. He put some YouTubers on the bottom to start the show, right? Yep. YouTubers that have, I think, over 200 million subscriptions alone. You know what I mean? The business model have changed. He grabbed from every source there was to be able to produce this type of show, which is pure genius. It really is. Right, but if Mike Tyson, if Jake Paul, is he a real fighter? In my opinion, hell no. He's not a real fighter. But as far as putting on damn events, holy crap.
Tim, but is it only about money now? Because now you're dumbing down the whole product.
Yes.
It's not. It's not only about money. The product has to succeed. If it's only about money, you're doing what you're doing here. You're dumbing down the whole product. Bro, this is the only time in my life. I generally think boxing fans are much smarter than MMA fans. As far as combat sports fans, they're not as dumb as other combat sports fans. Okay, I generally give boxing fans pretty good credit. This is the only time I've ever seen where your casual came in and the opinion of the casual made the boxing fan dumber instead of the boxing fan educating the casual. Even boxing fans are sitting here telling me Mike threw the fight, Mike was holding back. Then your Jake Paul fans are saying Jake was holding back because Jake said he was holding back, so automatically it's got to be true. You can't even watch the fight yourself and figure out what's going on? That nobody was holding anything back. Mike tried as much as he could as a 58-year-old. Mike almost died self-admittedly in June. This is not just a 58-year-old who was a 58-year-old. This is a 58-year-old who was probably in worse condition than most 58-year-olds a few months back. Mike come back almost from his deathbed And Jake shat his pants the whole time he was fighting him. And then he's sitting there arguing with Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis looks for the lowest hanging fruit possible, dude. This guy's got shamelessness written all over him. Gervonta went to try to fight Jake of all people. Bro, give me the low hanging fruit. Jake, give me that payday. I'm 44. I'm retired. I've been concussed a few times. I'm shot enough to fight you. Don't give this guy in his prime another free payday like that. Please.
You can't
do me a
add to
favor.
Gentlemen, that's the question now.
You cannot add to the circus, Paulie. Come on.
But
I understand.
Take
Paulie,
that $20 million.
here's the issue, guys. The call-outs are coming.
You're right. Tim.
The call-outs are coming.
Well said, Tim. Well said.
The call-outs are coming from real fighters now because they see those dollar signs. They see that money. No real fighter.
Jimmy,
that puts him in the hospital.
You got to be limited enough to be in the ring with him.
Yeah,
Jake doesn't. Here's what I said on my Polo TV page. Jake doesn't fix fights. He stacks the deck adequately. Most of the time, he fights non-boxers. Meantime, Jake's been boxing. Most of the time, he fights guys that are smaller than him. Jake's a bit bigger than them. In this case, he fought a guy his size, but the guy was 58 years old. It's Mike Tyson, but he's 58 years old. The deck has to be stacked adequately. You know, that's the way you make a Jake Paul fight. So somebody like Bitter Beef is never going to get that fight because the deck cannot be stacked adequately. Maybe one of us three can get in there. You know, we can stack the deck against me.
Yeah, but guys,
I'll carry Jake.
Go ahead,
I would carry him.
But this to Tim's point, the guy's a genius because now you got Better Biev calling you out. You have the unified light heavyweight undefeated destroyer calling you out because listen, there's no $20 million paydays out there, guys. Mike Tyson made $20 million to fight 8 2-minute rounds against Jake Paul. Okay, nobody makes $20 million to fight Canelo. You're gonna get like 6,
10,
8,
10
10 to fight Canelo. You're not getting 20. That's double, guys. That's double. You're going to get
But not
real
everybody's
fighters
gonna get 20.
calling him out.
But
But to the point, though, Jake now has real fighters calling him out. That's just going to bring more attention to Jake. Again, compounding the marketing genius that he's been able to parlay over and over and over again. It's insane.
As long as he parlays it into his promotional company, because again, the undercard was the genius part of the show for me. The undercard was terrific.
That's how he got those ladies paid. He got those ladies paid
with that undercard
because they were real fights. He's had fighters that he signed in the past, and he puts them on the shows, and it gives them opportunity. But now you're giving fans opportunity. You're actually making good matchups on these cards, and people are entertained with legitimate fights. That's why I praise Jake, and that's the part of Jake that I'd like to see. Honestly, Jake fighting. Bro, I've been a guy who's defended him more than others, bro. But Saturday, he was very, very disappointing. I picked him to win, and he's won, but the only reason he won is because Mike was basically log-jammed into the ground, bro. He couldn't move to chase him down.
No balance, no legs.
He couldn't get to him. And that was bad, bro. If you're fighting scared shitless of a 58-year-old man who was on his deathbed 5 months ago, and you're... Look what he was non-committal to his punches. He was like, again, you can carry somebody, you can halfway commit and stay right there. Now, Jake was throwing punches and jumping 40 feet back because he was so scared of what was coming back. That's not carrying somebody, guys. He can convince you morons, but people that have done it, we know how to carry somebody and not carry. Jake isn't good enough to carry anybody. But Jake honestly got worse. And that's disappointing to me. Because he's not actually committing himself to boxing now. It's very obvious. This fight, he regressed. He was better a few fights ago. Even against Tommy Fury, he was actually better. He just fought a better boxer. At this point, Tommy Fury was gliding in and out. He's better than a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. But at this point, Jake has regressed. So either hang him up and just focus on the promotion. The promotional stuff, bro, I think it works.
Yeah, but he can't because he's not going to get the same eyes.
He's not.
Taylor and Serrano are not going to be splitting tens of millions of dollars if he's not on the card.
Yeah.
So one question I have before we go, Tim, I got to ask you. I want to ask you, Tim, did boxing win or lose on Saturday? It's a big question. Did boxing itself win?
Look. The undercard was boxing. Skip the influence. Skip that. The influence that opened it up, forget them. That was trash. But we talking about the Barrios fight, that was fire. That was great for boxing.
And Serrano Taylor, too.
The Taylor fight, that was fire. That was great for boxing. The main event, that's a spectacle, people. But I'm just saying, the overall card, the way that Jake stacked the card and had his name at the top, because you got to think about it. He has his influence as well. He has his influence in the game, not the boxing game, but I'm just saying the followers, the subscriptions, 20 million people. They love watching him. That's just what it is. And then Mike Tyson, he brought another level again. Think about that. 7 decades 7 decades of people that have watched Mike Tyson and was hoping that Mike Tyson can just serve up one last left hook or right hand and knock Jake Paul out.
So we gotta take this? What's this world coming to?
Wait.
What's this? You gonna take
But
that?
no.
You gonna take that? What's this world coming to?
We don't have to take it. But that's what it is.
No, but that's
And
what that's where you shoot. That's where you shoot Spider, Tim.
But
That's where
listen,
you shoot
but
Spider.
listen,
You don't take it. You
but
shoot
listen.
Spider.
If boxing wasn't so good right now, this would bother me. But it doesn't. We're having great fights happening as well. The undercard was great, to your point, Tim. But also the next night we had another great show. We're having great fights being made year round. Boxing's in a really good, healthy place. We're getting a lot of really good fights. If this was in a vacuum, like in the 2020s when we couldn't get any good fights going on, and this is the only thing going on, this would really bother me. But the fact that the sport is still growing. And I made a point off air, Tim. Remember, of course you do. You remember Butterbean? Butterbean was on all those cards.
Exactly, yeah.
He was in all those cards. Somewhere down, because he was entertaining. It was fun to watch. You got this big guy named Butterbean with a bald head and wearing American flag trunks, knocking out hillbillies. Cool, this is fun. Now that guy's on the top of the card. So we got Butterbean at the top because he's so popular. But essentially, that's what it is. Boxing's always done this. You put some spectacle on there to get eyes, to get attention, to be entertaining. It just so happens that this version of Butterbean is the guy that everybody wants to see and is putting the card together. He's got all the money. So,
hey,
Butterbean's
Chris,
the top.
I got a question for both of you guys. Both of you, Paulie and you. Would you rather have Turkey a la Sheik in what he's doing? Or would you rather have Jake Paul in what he's doing? Because I'm telling you right now, what Jake Paul is doing is he's sacrificing, right? The boxers, the real boxers. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm going back to the press conference where you disrespected the fighters, Jake.
Yeah.
You're not a real fighter. Those guys are real fighters. That's what they are. True fighters to the bone. And you disrespected them. And I didn't like that, the way you treated those guys, because they weren't picking you to win the fight.
Tim, that's on them too. Everybody could have seen Jake was going to win that fight.
However, all I'm saying is that Jake is getting fat off the game, and he's using these fighters as well, and he's showing that, oh, I'm doing this for the women's boxing. I'm doing this for these fighters. I'm doing this. I'm paying them this and that. But he's getting fat himself off the game, whereas Turkey Al Sheik is losing money off the game, but he's trying to give us the fights that we want to see. That's my outlook on it. I want to know yours.
Guys, we went over time. Jimmy's got to close us down here. Otherwise, we're just going to keep going.
We can talk about that. We can talk about this subject forever, but I like what Chris had to say about regular boxing, the hardcore boxing that boxing dorks like is doing very, very well right now. And then for the casual fans, you have the Jake Pauls and Mike Tysons of the world. Well, where he go next? Wherever he goes, you know it'll make boxing news here on ProBox TV. Don't forget, December 7th, Waterford, Ireland. It is Ireland versus Ireland. Irish pride on the line. Catch it on ProBox TV.
ProBox TV Contender Series. On December 7th, look for an all-out Irish war as Dylan the Real Deal Moran battles Tyrone the Mighty Celt McKenna at the top of a stacked ProBox-worthy card.
For more ProBox TV, scan the QR code on the screen or go to the App Store and Google Play. ProBox TV, your boxing channel.